Hey up everybody, welcome back to the Aldo Cycling YouTube channel. Today I am going to be previewing the next round of the Superclasico series. It is Coppa Sabatini. This is going to be a bit of a puncher race. It was won by Valgren last year. Importantly, some of the people who are taking part in this race tomorrow also did a race today called the Giro della Toscana. That was won by Hirschi ahead of Lorenzo Rota, Dani Martinez, Chavez. There's also Arambarou, Andreas Klon, Tesfazion, those kind of riders. So those kind of riders are obviously in a good bit of form at the moment, and I doubt that they'll lose it overnight, barring any kind of sickness or poor refueling, for example. So those are going to be kind of riders that I'm recommending throughout this video. But let's actually have a look at the riders who are taking part. So we've got Nizzolo, Mike Woods, Moscon. I'll probably say Moscon isn't a great one just because he hasn't looked great all season. I think that Nizzolo, it's possibly a bit too hard for him. It is kind of within his realms of kind of like capabilities. He's done races like this before really well, and he's certainly won them from a reduced sort of sprint, which usually this race does come down to, but it is quite an attritional last climb. I remember Valgren kind of dropping Cobrelli in the last few hundred metres last year. I think that perhaps Woods would be a better option for Israel. Like, he was a little bit kind of like not... I think he was working for like Corbin Strong and Dylan Turns in the Tour Britain, so I'm not sure if that was really a gauge of how good his form is at the moment. Arambarou, like I just said, at the Giro della Toscana, he was doing really well. That was a really tough climb that he got over. This parkour suits him a lot more, and honestly, if he doesn't come like top 10, I'd be very surprised. So I think Arambarou is quite a safe shout. Bernal is coming back from injury. I'd probably avoid him. Hirschi, of course, won today. I think that he's almost like a certainty to put into a lot of teams now. Although he is very hit and miss. He's not like the Hirschi of 2020, unfortunately. But he is, he's still good. He's still going to be very competitive in this kind of field, which doesn't have the strongest of competition. Bora, Vlasov's just the first rider which I'm going to be talking about from Bora. But they've got so many other riders here, including like Kemner, Grossschartner, Brooks and Buchmann, who are all going to be options in my opinion. Of course, you could just go and select a team all of Bora riders if you so wanted to, but I'm just not sure which one we're going to be going for. I think in theory Vlasov makes a lot of sense, but it wouldn't surprise me if Brooks is selected. After all, he has won the Tour de l'Avenir, and perhaps they want to put a bit more and like show their confidence for him in the future by letting him be the leader here. I'm not too sure. Covey, I think he'll be working for Hirschi, but I think he could also be a nice second option. He does sometimes come and do quite well out in these Italian kind of small one-day races just out of nowhere, but probably a bit risky considering that we haven't seen too much of him recently in terms of form. Martin did alright today, but I think that Dani Martinez is probably a better choice. After all, he finished third in the Giro della Toscana today. He was looking pretty active in Montreal. Obviously, that kind of jet lag thing hasn't affected him too much. In fact, it didn't affect a lot of people today in the Tour of Wallonie. So I think that Martinez for 16 is a great one. Buchmann's there for 14, as I said earlier. Bora got lots of options. Chavez did well today, but I think that possibly that's because the parkour was quite difficult today. Longer climb, and it was quite kind of a whittling down process in that terms. I'm not sure if this parkour is suited to Chavez, but saying that, it is a contract year, and I think that he needs to try and get some results in the latter part of this season, so it wouldn't surprise me if he pulls out a good performance here. Demarchi did well in this race last year, but I'm not too certain about it. Him repeating it this year. I think that Rota at 14 is the best one. He's had an incredible run of form since like the Baloise Belgium Tour a few months ago, and he's just been incredibly consistent since then. A really good one-day racer on this kind of terrain. I think that Rota, alongside Hirschi, is probably like my recommendations for riders that you have to pick. More kind of like selective riders here, maybe Alexis Vuillermoz. Of course, he did win a stage at the Dauphiné earlier this year. Perhaps he can do well in this kind of stage. If you've wound the clock back, this would be a finish perfectly designed for Alexis Vuillermoz. Klon we haven't seen much of until today at the Giro della Toscana, so possibly he could be a good option for Lotto Soudal, who are looking for UCI points in the latter part of this season. Other than maybe Simon Geschke, although probably not around as a one-day racer, could certainly be a decent option. Some good 6-point riders, including Albanese, I think is a great value rider here, even though you won't be anywhere near probably 100 credits on this. I think that for 6, Albanese is just incredible. I think he should really be contesting for a top 10 in this race. He's had a good run of form as well, so I think that he would be another good one for a lot of teams. Mathieu Bergadeau, again, very similar, came second in the Tour de Doubs behind Valentin Madouas, who is now kind of going and doing really good things in the Tour of Luxembourg, so I think that Bergadeau is going to be a good option for a lot of teams. Again, very suited to this kind of parkour should really be coming in the top 10 in my opinion. You've also got Kemner there, like I said, another option for Bora. Victor Lafay was looking really good. I think he was in Norway, Arctic race in Norway, and so he could certainly do pretty good in this race as well. He's got a surprisingly good finish, pretty fast sprint. All in all, I remember at the Dauphiné when Gaudu won, I think he was up there. Andrea Piccolo would probably be the best rider for EF, although Sean Quinn is here. Sean Quinn just hasn't quite looked on fire like he did do at the Dauphiné earlier this year, so I'm not too certain about that. Aina Rubio was, I think, 4th today. Yeah, he was 4th today in the Giro della Toscana, so perhaps he could be another one to try and compete for the top 10. Nathaniel Tesfatsion, of course, the Eritrean, kind of alongside Girmay, is really leading the charge from that country. He's a fantastic rider, did a lot of good rides in the Giro this year on tougher terrain, so I'd expect Tesfatsion to again be one fighting for top 10. Velasco could be a good decent one for Astana. He was looking pretty active when it came to Montreal. And other than that, the 4-point riders, I think there's like Adley Ponomor, who came 10th today at the Toscana, and then there's also Itablux a bit further down as well, if you believe that the Tour de l'Avenir winner can go and do something in this race. So really that's my rundown of all riders. I don't think you'll be getting anywhere near to 100 credits in this race. I think that try and pick riders who kind of based off of current form really is probably the best way to go. I'd say that probably pick Rota and Hirschi as kind of like the security picks, maybe Arambaru as well, and then kind of just pick riders that you have good gut feelings about. But let me know in the comments down below, who are you thinking of selecting, anybody who I missed out, and yeah, all that's left to say is to keep safe up there, and I'll see you in the next video. Salut!